familiar at all with EXP, one of the things you would have heard of is EXP World. EXP World is the virtual world that the company uses to have realtors attend management meetings, weekly sales meetings, state or provincial, and attend classes for training, etc. What it is, it's an actual virtual world where your avatar walks in and you sit in an auditorium. It's pretty cool. So 3 things about EXP World that are worth noting. The platform is actually run by a company called Virbela. EXP World Holdings, that owns EXP, was a client for a few years. The founder of EXP, Glenn Sanford, liked the company so much, EXP World Holdings actually bought Virbela. And Virbela is used by other companies as well for the virtual capabilities that it has. Where this is beneficial to EXP agents, because we are part owners of EXP World Holdings, the stock that we receive for sales, the stock that we buy at a discount as EXP realtors, our stock becomes more valuable because EXP World Holdings is diversifying, buying companies like Virbela, Success.com, Showcase IDX, and more to follow. It's just opening up a whole new source of retirement potential and earning potential for EXP realtors. Very cool. Second thing about EXP World, again, the training that I'd mentioned. EXP realtors, you simply log into EXP University or the EXP platform itself. The training for the week, the 80 or so hours of classes that are in different rooms in the virtual world, you can pick, if you want to learn more about social media marketing, if you want to learn more about open houses, photography, lead gen, building your database, anything you could possibly want is in there every week. So it's helpful to new and experienced realtors. Third thing, the Icon Agent program that you might or might not be familiar with. If you hit a certain target in sales for the year, you become an Icon Agent. A quarter of the stock reward that you receive as an Icon Agent is tied to mentoring young agents for a short period of time or training for a short period of time in the EXP world. Now, I've heard other companies laugh at this. I've actually seen videos from other big brands specifically. Oh yeah, part of your stock is tied. You got to help other agents. Well, I would suggest that EXP as a company encouraging and rewarding its agents for helping other agents become better, for sharing their knowledge. I think that's genius of EXP to help its realtors and its company become better. I think it's something to be applauded, not scoffed at. So again, just another way EXP is revolutionized real estate. So as part of Marlene and my stock reward as Icon Agents, I chose to do a little bit of mentoring and also teaching in EXP World. The next hour might be interesting to either new agents or if you're thinking about becoming a realtor. My class was the 10 things I wish I knew as a new realtor. Just looking back, things I wish I'd done differently and things I wish I'd done differently over the years. Things I do today, but certainly could have been better at. So the one thing you can't see in this presentation, you can't see the virtual world. You can't see the avatars that are there. There was somewhere between 80 and 90 people in the class. You can't see them because I've got my slide deck on the screen to refer to. So you're not getting the full effect of EXP World, but I can send you other videos and show you how it works, or I can give you a guest pass and show you how it works. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you got any questions about EXP, we'd love to be your go-to source, and please follow our YouTube channel there. You have a great day. Hey everybody, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Not sure if I have. Is anybody here from EXP to help me out, or am I on my own here this time? Awkward silence. It looks like I'm on my own for slides and stuff if I have to move forward, but I think I've got this thing figured out. This is my third time doing this, so looks like a smaller group today, 18 of us. Where's everybody from? Houston, Pennsylvania, Victoria. I'm from Canada, Lisa. North Carolina, Chico, California. That is where Butte Junior College is, isn't it, Nathan? Chico State, Orlando, Cincinnati, Atlanta. It's a cool part about EXP world that kind of makes it easier to, make the world smaller. So I guess that's the internet, right? I'm actually recording this for my own purposes today, and my allergies are acting up like crazy. So if I sniff a bit, I apologize in advance. I just got back from Mexico, so I think my body is adjusting to moving from Mexico for 6 weeks to Canada. So okay, it's pretty much 11 o'clock or 11 o'clock my time, so we'll kind of jump in. I gather most of you have been in classes before. You know what? Let's just step back. How long has everybody been in the business, just to give me an idea? Two years, 6 months. So this is kind of typical. 5 days. Elaine, you're brand new. 3 months, under 2 years, so brand new as well. Okay, and I guess that's with the title of the course, 10 things I wish I knew as a new realtor. That's what we're going to attract, and that's perfect. That's kind of my goal. So everybody's got their mics on mute, so it seems like you've been in classes before, so I don't have to go over the housekeeping too much. So Lisa, when were you in real estate before? Why'd you leave and why'd you come back, just out of curiosity? Because that might be useful to know for something I might talk about later. Turn your mic on.
I was in real estate in 2010 for 2 years, and I ended up moving to Calgary, so I license.
Oh, okay. So I didn't see you were in Calgary. So, oh, you were in Calgary, now you're Victoria. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lot of this stuff.
I moved to Victoria, then Calgary, and back to Victoria.
Okay, okay. Well, you know what? This is kind of interesting because a lot of this kind of stuff that I'm going to talk about, even though it's for new realtors, it's also kind of fits for a new market. So I think so. Interesting. Okay. So just a little bit about myself, not that it matters about who I am and things, but I'm from Canada. We're in a town called Kelowna. Um, we are in the Okanagan Valley, so we're 3.5 hours east of Vancouver. So if you're ever looking for a holiday, we're on a 75-mile lake. Golf courses, wineries, I'm sure Lisa will vouch for it. It's a pretty cool spot. So a lot of NHL hockey players actually move here because it's easy city to get around in and get to. So basically, guys, what we're going to talk about is pretty the most basic stuff. real estate has changed so much in the last 5, 10 years, like I said in the slide here. When I first got my license, and I don't know how old some of you are, but if you bought homes 20 years ago or so or longer, you had to talk to a realtor to find out what was for sale, because we had a catalog. Nothing was on the MLS. You had to call the realtor unless you wanted to drive around and look at signs or open up a newspaper. And when the real estate industry changed a few years ago and we started putting things on the internet, a lot of us, myself included, I thought we're out of business. The public doesn't need us anymore. They can just go online, find their house, and they're off to the races. That, as we know, proved not to be true. We're a people business. People need realtors to advise, negotiate, etc. Our roles have evolved a little bit. But while real estate's changed, two things haven't changed. That real estate is a systems business. You have to work systems that may change over time, but there's still systems, and it's a people business. Okay, so how many of you have taken other classes in EXP world? Just type in what you've taken. I'm just looking in the chat box here. People are typing away. KV Core, important. Teaches you how to work your CRM and your database. Lead gen, huge. That's something that's different from 10, 20 years ago. Lead gen is completely different. There was no internet with people registering on sites and things, right? Lead follow-up, open houses. That's old school, never changes. I shouldn't say it never changes. How you communicate with people at the open house is basically the same, but the ways of getting them to the open houses maybe are different. So some of the stuff, and C. Buffington, Google Tools, for example, all this is more techie things that's evolving. What I'm going to talk about today is a little bit more back to the basics, and may help you dig in deeper on some of those other classes, or get you taking some of those other classes is maybe a better way to say it. Okay. First thing I'm going to talk about, the absolute, if it's not number one, it's in the top 3, budgeting. Okay, and if you're new to real estate, you've heard this maybe, but you're not still aware just how real estate is going to be ups and downs. You may not get a check for a while, then you get a couple big ones, and then you got a dry run again. It's just the nature of the business until you get rolling. And even if you get rolling, you're going to have those downtimes. So you've got to be prepared for that. My first year in the business, 1987, I was about 21 years old. I worked for a big land developer for my dad. He was the sales manager for the largest land developer in the city that I was in at that time, Winnipeg. My first day in the business, I was mad at my dad because he wouldn't let me go home because I was listing. He gave me 13 new show homes to list in my name. And I was PO'd at my dad because I wanted to get home. I think it was on a Friday, and I wanted to get to the bar with my buddies. Back then, a listing contract wasn't online like it is now. It was press hard, 6 copies. I didn't realize just how good I had it. Think about your first day in the real estate business, having 13 homes to list, or any day having 13 homes to list. I would work all night to do that today. Fast forward, I'm going to fast forward twice and talk about why budgeting is important. My first year in business, I lived at home. I had a 1977, I drove a 1977 Volare silver with a red stripe. At the end of the year, I leased a Honda Accord. I still lived at home. I bought a Pioneer stereo for my bedroom, and I bought a waterbed. I made about $113,000 that year. Think about it, $113,000 in 1987. And again, it's not that I was good. I had 13 homes to list. That's the way my my year went. Even though homes then were only $70,000, I had a lot of real estate to sell. $113,000. At the end of the first year, I had nothing. I didn't have a dime to my name. I spent it as fast as I made it. But I lived at home, so it was really no big deal. I didn't move out for another couple years. I had room for error. If I had behaved that way as a father, I probably wouldn't be in real estate today. Okay, now fast forward again. This was 1987. 1981, I've moved to Kelowna. I had to challenge the real estate exam. I didn't have to take the course because it was a realtor in another city. I had to challenge the real estate exam. I figured I'm a realtor, I know all this stuff, so I didn't study that hard. I flunked the first time. So now I am stuck for about 7-8 months. It's been a few years now, so 6, 7, 8 months without a real estate license. I moved to Kelowna. I was married. I had my 9-month-old daughter. I had no money because that first year that I was in real estate with my dad, I behaved the same way for the next 4.5, 5 years. Made decent living, but just spent the money as we went. And it was a lot harder to save money then once I moved out of the house because now I've got a mortgage, got car payments. I had real estate expenses. When I worked for my dad, the company paid for everything. So I moved to Kelowna. I can't sell real estate for 6, 7 months. I had to work as a security guard and a janitor to pay the bills. My wife was working at the time, but new city, it was expensive. If I had listened to my dad and budgeted the way he told me to, and if I had had any semblance of discipline financially, I'd have been able to study, stay home with my daughter while my wife worked at her job, studied, probably wouldn't have failed the exam the first time. Anyway, so I learned a very valuable lesson that I could afford to learn. A lot of you can't afford to make that mistake because you don't have the advantages that I have where I've lived, or I lived at the time. So I fast forward. I didn't mean to jump to the screen. I was going to ask the question, but how many of you have heard the term commission breath? How many have seen that before? Okay, so commission breath is so Donna, commission breath is absolutely the worst thing to have when you're talking to a member of the public. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more later, but if you're nervous about where your next mortgage or rent payment or car payment is going to come from, that's going to come across to the public. You're just going to talk horribly. You're going to be a little panicky. There's several ways to avoid commission breath, and some of them, other ones we're going to talk about later in scheduling discipline and things. But budgeting is the first step. Okay. So keys to budgeting. Okay, and these are the top 6 things. They're the most basic. Okay. Know how much you need to run your life. And I'm going to share a business plan later, Tom Ferry business plan, and there's other ones. And in the business plan is a budgeting program, okay? You've got to know how much you need to pay your bills every month, okay? And I've actually typed this twice. This should have said, the first one should have said, know how much you need to run your life. Second one should say, know how much you need to run your business. So in the business plan, I'm going to share, there's 2 columns, one for business, one for life, okay? 3, and I got in trouble back in the day with this. One of the disadvantages to real estate is you are your own boss now. You have not, how many of you work for you're coming into real estate now, how many of you work for somebody else, work for a company where they took off the income tax and paid the government for you? Just type that that's where you're coming from. Yep. And or just say if you had your own business and you're used to putting aside the tax portion and paying it accordingly. But most of you are coming from a situation where nobody did that for you. Okay, and we're seeing that. Okay, so Elaine, you know, you're probably disciplined enough, you know, to put away the tax portion of what you've got to save. So you're not got that big bill at the end of the year or the next year when the government finally wakes up and comes after you. Because paying back what you owe to taxes is a lot harder than paying it the first time. A few years ago, what I started doing, minute you get a check, minute you get paid, I have my tax account set up, I pay it right away. Don't wait till the end of the month or at the end of the quarter, because if you've been a little slow as you're gaining traction in this business, it's very easy to say, okay, I'm going to spend all the money this time, but I'll catch it up on the next check. Very, very hard to do. Okay, pay every check immediately. Pay the government whatever your tax rate is. If you're in the United States, maybe it's 20% or whatever it is. If you're in Canada, it's everything. I just give your entire check to our government, but that's another story. Okay, pay as you go. Don't fall behind. Number 4, if you've read The Wealthy Barber, you know that old 10% rule. Pay yourself. Have your savings plan put aside. It's even more critical in real estate because you don't have that check every month. You're at EXP. Use the EXP 5% stock option. Who's using it? And it's hard. It's easy to put that off for now, but that 5% coming off your checks, you don't even realize it after a while. We've been at EXP for 2.5 years. Sometimes I forget that it's even coming off. Okay, and you'll see our stock. It's a volatile stock. Every time Glenn Sanford or the execs sell for obviously good reasons for the company, realtors panic and the stock goes down a bit. It's the nature of the business. Don't let that scare you. Okay, and then number 6. Don't spend those big checks. If you have the home run month or whatever, again, real estate is going to be a series of ups and downs. Follow the budgets that we have that you've set up at the start of the slide. How much you need to operate your life, how much you need to operate your business, and the 10% rule, and pay the government. Don't. If you get a $50,000 check for whatever reason one month, you may not see another one for 2 or 3. You just never know. Number 2, I got my notes here. And this is kind of like the budgeting aspect of it. Things are different now that you're in real estate. One of the very best things is the freedom, but that is also one of the very worst things. Okay. Most of you said you came from another line of work where your employer paid your taxes for you. Your employer also probably told you what to do and when to do it. You showed up at 9 o'clock, at 11 o'clock you were doing this, at 1 o'clock you were doing this. You had a routine, right? In real estate, you can wake up and, okay, what do I do next? You got to get away from that. I skipped ahead here. So I'm just going to skip ahead to my schedule. And you can't, I don't know how visible this is on the screen, but this is my Google Calendar. And 90% of what you see on this calendar, and this is back from December, my life till the day I die or leave real estate is mapped out. Okay, so can everybody, you can see the colors, right? Everything there? Okay. So anything red, okay, red are closings. Okay, if I have a closing or subject to movals, I create the task in my Google Calendar, mark it red so I can't forget it. That's obvious. You're probably not going to forget about a closing, but if you get busy, that's important. My blues are appointments. If I've got buyer or seller appointments, and those are going to float around more. If you see green, okay, those are my prospecting, and again, I get more into prospecting in a slide or two later. I color code prospecting because it's green, it's money making, okay? And I don't know if you can see, but they've all got time blocks. For example, on Wednesday the 29th, Wednesday is my hour of power, that's my prospecting. It's from 11:30 to 12:30. Yellows, I time block, that's for business planning. If I'm going to work on my social media, if I'm going to work on my listing presentation, if I'm going to work on listing tasks, whatever they are, that's when I do it. And you can't see it necessarily, but if I've got business tasks set for 3 o'clock today, I've already typed in what I'm going to be doing when I work on my business tasks. So when that time block starts, I'm at it. And I'm not thinking, okay, what do I do next? Okay. Anything that's white means that that's not filled at the moment, and I leave time to work with buyers and sellers. So let's say now, for example, and the other reason time blocking is so important is Wednesday the 29th, 11:30. Let's say a buyer says, hey, Blake, can we go look at homes? Okay. What I would tell my buyer is, hey, I've got an appointment at 11:30. Would 1:30 or 1:45 work? Most buyers are going to go, yeah, that works. Okay. You want to avoid the habit of ever jumping every time a client says, this time, this time, this time. You have appointments with yourself, stick to them. 9 times out of 10, a client is going to go with the time you propose. Okay. If not, then you can adjust these accordingly. But again, my life is mapped out that, and these are old. This says 11:30. This was when I was in Mexico, and my times changed. Normally, this would be 9:30. I'd be prospecting. Okay. So as far as your time blocks go, I'm going to go back one. Okay. You see my prospecting appointments. Nothing should be more important than those. Absolutely nothing. Real estate is a numbers game. Okay. And I'm going to talk more about a little more about this as we go on. And obviously the people aspect of real estate is critical. But you've got to be talking to the people. And it's very easy to put prospecting off. And there's different types of prospecting. We'll talk about that later. If you're new to the business, it may be lead gen. If it may be knocking on doors or on an open house you're going to do. If you've been in the business 10 years, it may just be calling your sphere, or 3 years. How you break up your prospecting isn't the point. The point is, do your prospecting. One of the things, if you've been in other classes and you've dug deep on prospecting, you've probably heard another realtor talk about, as you get busy and you get busy running with buyers and sellers, your prospecting falls off. 3 months later, your deals fall off. Real estate is like a roller coaster. You have to avoid that. Your appointment to prospect is absolutely your most important appointment. When you're prospecting, if you were with a client, would you be answering your phone? You wouldn't. You'd be sitting down with your client, paying attention to them. When you're prospecting, it's the exact same thing. But if you're new to the business, prospecting is probably the last thing you want to do. Okay? Who here likes prospecting? Say yes or no. Or if you don't do it, say don't do it. No, 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 no. Yep. Okay. So we're seeing as many no's as yeses. So if Michael Marshall, you hate prospecting, the best thing in the world that could happen to you is if the phone rings. Oh, I can't prospect. I got to deal with this. Your prospecting appointment is an appointment with clients. Turn everything else off for that hour, hour and a half, whatever it is. Nothing disturbs you. Unless the house is on fire, keep prospecting. Active voicemail. Okay, and there's a few reasons you would use active voicemail, but active voicemail is the habit of changing your voicemail according to the situation. My voicemail today says, you've reached Blake Roberts with the 97 Way Home Real Estate Group, eXp Realty, for Tuesday, February 1st. I can't take a call at the moment. Please leave your message at the tone or text me at this number and I'll call you back as soon as I can. So for that purpose, active voicemail serves to tell the public where you are, that you're here. try to get into that habit of changing your voicemail. It's a bit of a pain. If you're going to have a late night, you want to do it the night before so you don't have a gravelly voice. But I don't even think about it anymore. I've been doing it for 15 years. I change my voicemail every day. The advantage to that is when a member of the public calls you, they know you're around. Think about it. If you've got 2 people to call, if you've got 2 realtors to call and you're a member of the public and you've got to talk to somebody that day and you have to choose a realtor. One realtor says, hey, you've reached Blake, I can't take your call, leave a message and I'll call you back. Or the other realtor says, you've reached Blake Roberts, it's February 1st, please leave a message at the tone and I'll call you back as soon as I can. If you need to speak to a realtor, you're more likely to leave a message for the realtor who has told you what day it is and that they're around. It's scary to leave a voicemail for somebody and you don't know if they're ever going to call you back. So now, active voicemail in terms of prospecting. And Michael, I think it was, and most of you said you don't like prospecting. Again, it's very easy to be distracted and it's very easy to feel that you're neglecting somebody. If it's your prospecting time or another important time, but for the purpose of this, I'm talking prospecting, I'd suggest change your voicemail to say, you've reached Scott Chapman with eXp Realty for Tuesday, February 1st. I'll be unavailable between 9 and 10:30. Please leave a message at the tone or text me and I will call you as soon as I'm free. So that way, when the phone lights up, you know that whoever leaves you a message is being told they're not going to get a phone call back until a certain time, and you've got no stress. Okay, this is all about developing the habits to enjoy prospecting because it is the most valuable time of your day. And those of you that say you hate it, I totally get it. But if you get to the point where you enjoy doing it, you're off to the races. And again, over the years, your types of prospecting is going to change. It's going to go from more of a cold to more of a warm sphere. But even if you've been in the business 15 years, you've got to stay up on talking to your people. We've all had it happen. If we've been in real estate a long time, you see a client list their home with somebody else, and you go, what the hell? You call the client and, hey, how can we listed with so-and-so? And there might have been nothing you can do, but I've had situations over the years where, geez, I kind of forgot about you, Blake. Or yeah, you seem so busy. So I just never thought to call you. Calling your clients and your database, letting them know that you're around and you value and you want your business is the best thing you can do. Business planning. Anybody here taking a business planning course with eXp yet? There's several in the world, and I'm just going to talk about the basics. Okay. So those of you that have said yes, you've probably heard all this before. Okay. Track and measure. Track and measure. Okay. Daily, monthly, and quarterly. I've got a few spreadsheets that I'll share for anybody that wants them. I'll put my email in the chat later. I track my calls and my deals daily. Every month I analyze where I'm at, and every quarter I analyze where I'm at. If you're falling behind, you want to know. So, okay, how do I adjust to pick this up? Or maybe, you know what? I've got other things going on. The market's softening. I'm going to adjust my goals down a little bit. But you want to know where you're at. What to track. Listing appointments.
Hey, Blake.
Yep. Max, yep.
Quick question.
Yep.
I'm not in the eXp world. I'm on my phone. I couldn't get to a computer. This is great. Is there a way to have the voicemails, just kind of everything just emailed?
Yeah, there's apps for those. There are apps.
I just wish I was in front of a computer being able to take notes because this is a great class and I appreciate it.
I'll email this to you. There's slide deck, but there are apps, and that was one of the things I was going to talk about at the end of the class. I want to say app mail, but if you ask that question in eXp world, find any one of the groups, ask that question. I know Tom Ferry, for example, who I follow. There's one that he recommends. I don't use it, but lots of realtors do, 100%.
No, I'm just saying I'm using the for EXP World listening in, so I can't see what you're
Oh, okay,
presenting.
okay. So I'll. Oh, so you can't even see the chat.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I just
Here
want
I'm
to
gonna
log
do this. What's your email?
in. It's just max.dash at EXP Realty. And sorry to interrupt.
No, that's
This is just
okay. Max
a lot of good
Dash
information.
Max E
Max dot and then last name is ESH
at EXP.
at yep.
Okay. I'll email you a bunch of stuff when we're done.
Appreciate it. Sorry to
Okay,
interrupt.
no worries, no worries. Okay. So track your listing appointments and your listings. And I've got spreadsheets for all these. Tom Ferry, lots of other trainers have them, but track it. So you get to the point after a couple, 3 years, you start to realize how many listing appointments you need to go on to get a listing. Buyer appointments and buyer contracts, exact same thing. Obviously, buyers sold and listings sold. That's straightforward. Prospecting. This is going back to the prospecting. I count when I'm sitting down making my hour of power or my hour and a half of power. I either use my app if I'm out and about, or I just have a scrap piece of paper. Every time I shoot a text or a phone call, tick, 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 tick. And then I have 4 categories: seller database, seller new, buyer database, buyer new, and I record. So I start to know how many people I have to talk to or have to reach out to have a conversation. Okay. And this, I pump Tom Ferry's tires a lot because I'm a big Tom Ferry fan. And again, if you've been in business planning, you may have seen this already, but everybody do this, okay? How many of you know, for example, first, how many of you just say yes or no if you know how many transactions you want to do this year? And you should. Okay, so most of you are there. You know this formula? Has everybody done this? Okay, this formula is based on years, and I think it's the National Association of Realtors that tracked this for a typical realtor. And as you get better and as you deal with a different caliber of clientele, your percentages will get better. But this tells you how many people you need to talk to on any given day or on a day to reach your goal. So if you want to do 50 transactions, okay, so number one, how many transactions do you want to do this year? Let's say it's 50. I'm going to pull up my calculator so I can do it at the same time. Let's everybody do it together, okay? So type in your number, okay? So everybody type in your calculator how many transactions you want to do this year. Everybody do it. Multiply that number by 50, okay? Whatever number you get on that line for number 2, divide that by 11, okay? Tom Ferry says, obviously, and we all say you're going to take some time off, so that's based on 11 months of work. Okay, and then you divide that line by 20, how many days per month? Okay, so that number tells you how many calls you need to make a day. Okay, how many conversations you need to make a day. Okay, so Cindy, when you say 100, so you want to do 100 deals? Turn your mic on, Cindy, if you want to.
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to do 100, right?
Mm-hmm.
Multiply that by 50. Okay, divide that by 11 for 11 months of work.
Mm-hmm.
And then divide that by 20 working days in a month. You need to have 22 conversations a day. You need to talk to actually close 22.7 people per day to hit that target based upon averages of from the National Association of Realtors. Are you making 22 calls a day? That's a lot of calls.
That's your whole day right there.
Well, you know what? So there's a situation, Cindy. If you're new to the business, okay, your hour of power may become 2 hours of power, and I would suggest breaking it up, 2 hours dialing at once. But that is just, guys, that's a reality. You've got to know your numbers. You can set a goal. Hey, I want to do 100 deals, and maybe you're in the right community or this, that, or the next thing, and you've got something going on that the average realtor doesn't have. and you're sharp and you work it, you can do it. But real estate is largely a numbers game, so you've got to understand that. And if Cindy, if you said, well, geez, no, I'm new to my city, I don't know anybody, then you might want to say, okay, do I want to dial down that 100 number? Okay, not saying back off on a goal, just have the goal be realistic. And prospecting the numbers is critical to knowing that. Okay. Who role plays? Practices calling, scripting, cold calling, et cetera, et cetera. Who does it? Silence. Usually a bunch of people say yes, they do it. Used to, no, no, no. And Buffington, sorry, I don't know your first name. Yeah, you might be, you've been doing this long enough, maybe you don't need to do it, and that's cool. I hate the term role play because it sounds, I think it turns some people off. And Otis, that's practicing scripts, chanting scripts is a good thing for sure. But that's chanting, that's not necessarily role playing. Anyway, I hate the term role playing. There was a realtor in New York a few years ago. I heard him use the term confidence building, and I think that's better. Professional athletes practice, lawyers practice with their defendants. They script what the prosecutor is going to say, so you're going to say this. Okay, it's critical. Okay, you're not going to do it forever. As you get better at real estate, or as you do it, as you're in more listing presentations, for example, you're just going to be more conversational, and because you're going to know what to say. Most of my listing presentations, for example, and I don't role play my listing presentations because I've been doing this long enough, and most of my business is referrals and people I know. I can walk into a living room and they just trust me, and I talk about basics and we're off to the races. But if I'm ever in a listing presentation, let's say I'm trying to get a $4 million home, and I'm up against Jane Hoffman, who is the lakefront king in our city for Coldwell Banker. She's a top Coldwell Banker in the world. Excuse my language, I am shitting my pants because I don't know what to say because I'm up against the great Jane Hoffman. So there's times because I didn't role play, I could lose a listing, whereas if I was sharper on my game, I might be able to scoop one from Jane. Who knows? A few years ago, I was at a seminar. You've all heard of Tom Ferry and Mike Ferry, but years and years and years ago, I was in Vancouver and I heard Matthew Ferry speak. That's the other brother. That's Tom's brother, who's no longer in real estate. I don't know what he does now, but he was role playing. He was on the stage and he was role playing with realtors. He had his energy drink, and he'd call a realtor up and they'd role play listing presentation. And he told the realtors, "Hey, be difficult. Don't want to list with me. Don't make this a laydown." And he killed it. It was mesmerizing to watch this guy up on the stage. Excuse me. One realtor put his hand up, and it was kind of a jackass, and he said, "Well, yeah, you're just doing this up on stage. This is easy. Try being across the kitchen table from a couple that has to sell." And Matthew, he strutted. I'll never forget this. He strutted, and he said, "Really? I just did this in front of 1,000 realtors. You don't think I can have a conversation in front of a husband and wife at a coffee table? Fly me into your town, I'll destroy you," or words to that effect. And he's right. When you role play with a realtor who is critiquing what you're saying, you're going to be nervous. The tool sharpening that you're going to do is massive. So jump on workplace, schedule role playing into part of your weekly business, at least for a while. Number 6. Now, I said a lot of what we're going to talk about in this class is old school. This is more new school. We've always heard the term "customer is always right," and they are to a degree, But don't forget, we deal more with clients, okay? And sometimes a client has to be educated. That's our job. Customer isn't always right. Who is always right? Type in the chat box. What is always right? Think about something that's out there that you can't undo. I don't know if I'm wording that exactly right. Everybody says the market, and that's the law. Same thing. Yep, facts. This is funny. It's actually interesting to do these and see the answers, because I would have given the exact same answers. Numbers. What's always right is Google. Okay, Google is always right. We're going to get negative reviews. You can't stop them. Okay, just be aware though that you have the ability to turn a bad situation into a good situation. Used to be, if you had a member of the public or a client who was unhappy, they would tell one friend or two or three, and maybe they would repeat it, but the problem would kind of go away. With Google, once somebody puts a negative review out there, it's there forever, and you can't undo it. So just keep this in mind when you're dealing with a client that's difficult or you don't want to deal with. It's not just a financial thing, okay? Trolls, for example. Okay, let's say you're doing an open house. Okay, and who said they like to do open houses? I think somebody said they script for open houses. Okay, so Ruth, can you turn your mic on?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say somebody comes through your open house and they're just a jerk. Okay? And they say the house is overpriced and they hate realtors. Okay? Let's you do that. Okay, you're going to come to an open house. Just be negative. You say whatever you want. Say you hate realtors. Say the house is overpriced. Just don't be a particularly nice person. Don't be somebody that I would even want to deal with. Okay. So okay, we're going to play. Hi Ruth. So you've had a look through the home. Any thoughts? Any questions I can answer?
That house looks awful. Everything about the house is wrong.
So what is it about? So, and I understand, Ruth, if it's not the right house for you, what is it about this house that doesn't work for you?
I hate everything. The layout, the carpet, everything looks awful in that house.
Okay. Well, if I could find you a home that worked for you, would you be interested in taking a look at other homes? And now here I'm going to tell you what to say. Basically say, no, I wouldn't work with a realtor. You people all make too much money. You suck. Just tell me to F off.
No, thank you. I don't want to work with any realtors. You guys suck anyway.
Okay. You've had a bad experience, I guess?
Yes, every time.
Okay, I get it. Hey, you know what? It's unfortunate. Realtors have let you down. I totally get it. Not all of us are great, but you know what? Just keep an open mind. Hopefully you find a house on your own. But if you don't, if you ever reconsider working with a realtor, here's my card. Or you know what, Ruth? Even if you ever have a question, don't hesitate to give me a shout. Okay? So I could say that, or I could have said, Ruth, so yeah, go buy a house on your own. You're an idiot. Okay? I do very well in this business. I don't need you anyway. What answer is going to elicit Ruth finding me on Google and going, Blake Roberts is an a-hole? Or what response might have elicited Ruth 6 months from now when a client says, you know what, we're trying to find a realtor, we've had no luck. What might prompt Ruth to say, you know what, I met this guy at an open house 6 months ago. He was pretty cool. Let me see if I can find his card. Okay? So just keep in mind the conversations that you have don't always have to be profitable. It doesn't have to be with a client to work for you. And this is I'm telling you guys this, for the first 15 years of my career, I sucked. I would tell people in an open house, get lost. I don't care. I don't want to deal with you anyway. At some point, somebody taught me, just be aware, okay? And I'm talking way too much. We got to speed this up. Most of you have never worked anywhere but EXP. Okay? If you've never worked anywhere but EXP, you're not going to appreciate everything that this company offers you. Use the tools, the classes that you're in now. Keep attending them every week. Look ahead and see if there's a class or two you want to go to. I still do it, okay? And I'll attend classes that a new realtor is putting on because they're better at social media than I am. We can always learn stuff. The 5% auto invest. Most of you are already doing it. I think I'm from Canada. We have provincial meetings. I think most of you have state meetings. Attend them. Okay, the compliance that you learn there is a necessary way to keep you out of real estate jail. Workplace. A lot of you probably have turned workplace off or turned notifications off because it gets a little overwhelming when you first join EXP. You start getting all these alerts. Dig into workplace. Learn what groups you want to follow. Turn your notifications on or off. Turn them off for email if that gets overwhelming. But just know the groups that you want to follow, and especially follow EXP when they send out their notifications. The stuff EXP sends out to you is, and I've worked for the biggest independent or the biggest Canadian-owned real estate company. I worked for Coldwell Banker. I worked for Remax. The stuff EXP sends out is so valuable. They may be talking about businesses they've purchased that because EXP World Holdings bought them, you now own. Pay attention to workplace. Don't turn it off. Understand how EXP works so that when an agent maybe asks you about it, you can knowledgeably talk about this company. Okay, there's a lot of moving parts to it that you just may not appreciate if you've not worked anywhere else. Okay, and it can be a little overwhelming, but the opportunities are there, so use them.
You know what I think is pretty huge, Blake, with workplace?
What's that?
They have a state-specific referral group for people.
Absolutely, you know.
And that's amazing.
Yep. And that's the thing. They've got different groups that the bigger company, other companies don't have. The other why I think we're going to see more and more companies using workplace. I think as EXP was the first. It's a genius platform, so take advantage of it. Number 8, be nice to everybody, obviously, but especially realtors. My wife and I, when we're in a listing presentation, we tell our sellers that, okay, you're our client, but other realtors now are critical to our success. Okay? As much as you compete with other realtors, you work with them more. You may be writing an offer. You may be writing an offer and you're in a multiple offer situation. You want to have the advantage of not only your good offer standing on its own, you want the other realtor to like you. Okay? Because if let's say there's 10 competing offers and you've separated yourself from the other 8 because your price is right, your terms are right, and you're up against one other realtor. Everything else is identical. And the other realtor is a lying, cheating, or not even lying or cheating, just a jerk, a moody, blames everybody, just hard to get along with. Or you're the realtor who is always friendly. When you have a deal, get a little tough with another realtor. You never lash out. You're always planting seeds for that next opportunity to work with them. That's when you're going to win that battle. Okay? I used to have a picture of Patrick Swayze on here, the old Be Nice from the movie Roadhouse. Alex Mickey in this picture, he was an old friend in Kelowna, worked at Remax for as long as I knew him. He was one of the first realtors I met when I moved to Kelowna in 1991. I met Alex and Gay. They were the most welcoming people. Alex passed away about 3 weeks ago. The outpouring of love for this man, you can't put it into words. And that's why his business and Gay's business was always so successful. Everybody loved Alex. If I had multiple offers, Alex's offer would always be one that I noticed. because I knew Alex and Gabe were good people and I love them. You want to be that realtor. And when you're new to the business, when nobody knows you, it's even more critical. Because if you're, and this is tricky right now with COVID and everything, it's harder to get out there as much. But as a new realtor, you've got to be developing a reputation amongst your peers. So be in those workplace groups from other companies. If your board has a chat group or whatever it is, if there's tours, be out there. Be everybody's friend. Be sincere, but be everybody's friend because you need them. Excuse me, I've got this cold too. Number 9, who has seen the movie Glengarry Glen Ross? And I apologize, somebody just said they door knocked and I missed that. Okay. Nope. I'm surprised more people haven't seen this movie. It's legendary. Okay. So Glengarry Glen Ross is a movie from about the 80s. It's in the 80s, and it's about selling real estate lots and things. You see the cast that are in it. It's a very, 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 very good cast. Okay. So if you have seen it, sorry, did Jenny, when you said yes, was that yes to seeing this movie? Anybody seen it? Nope. Okay. I'll give one more minute. Elaine. Nope. Okay.
The leads a week. The leads a week.
What's that?
I'm just saying the leads are weak.
The leads are weak. Okay, so Max, you've seen it. That's the best scene in this movie, right?
By far. That's the only scene I've seen. So
Okay.
if anyone in here, just go Google like Alec Baldwin.
Exactly.
Amazing scene.
Exactly. So in this scene in this movie, Alec Baldwin is one of the higher ups in the company, and he's been brought in to kick the ass of all those other salespeople. And he's got his Rolex and his Bentley that he drives, and what he tells the people is real estate is ABC. A always, B C closing, always B closing. It's a legendary scene, but guys and gals, it's wrong, okay? And on this slide, and it's actually perfect. I didn't realize till a few months ago that the character's name is Blake, so it's actually perfect. So I scratched out Blake from Glengarry Glen Ross. It's Blake Roberts. And I changed closing to Karen. One of the first things my dad taught me when I got into this real estate business was treat your clients right, treat people with respect, and you'll do very, 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 very well in this business. And you've probably all heard this. There are salespeople in this world that do very well. But what Alec Baldwin is saying in this movie goes against what real estate is. Don't forget, more and more, and in Canada, and I know most of the states as well, we've got agency and fiduciary duties. We're supposed to be working for our clients above all else. And so much of this goes back to the different slides that I was talking about. The prospecting. I said prospecting, it's a numbers game. You got to talk to 22 people, I think it was to Cindy, I said. But if you make those calls, if you have those conversations, you'll get to the point where you'll talk to enough people. Cindy, yep, okay. If you make your calls to get to your 100, you are going to become such a machine that the business is going to come in at such a fast rate that every conversation that you have with your clients or people you're talking to, you'll be looking in their eyes and you'll start to care about them. Because if you care about your clients, it sounds corny, but if you care about your client, if that is your ultimate goal, if you can get to the point where you forget about the paycheck, if you're not even thinking about it, your clients will trust you, they will love you, and they will be a client forever, and they will start referring you. It's hard to get to. It's not going to happen overnight. Most of you are new to this business, so you're going to have that commission breath. So go back to everything on all these slides that I talked about. This should be your ultimate goal, so that your goal should be to help people, and then your career will be massive. Last thing I'm going to briefly talk about is mindset. Again, it sounds corny. You've probably been in classes. We hear a lot about mental health these days more than ever, and I hesitate to even bring up the slide every time because I don't want to say the wrong thing. I'm not trivializing mental health. Mental health is a serious issue for a lot of people, and I'm not saying you can read a book and make it go away, because you can't. But real estate, the very nature of our business is you got to be on your game, you got to be positive. You can't see me right now, but I'm jumping around. The very nature of real estate is you've got to be positive. You got to be reading books, you got to be learning, you got to be reading positive stuff. It's a natural, I'm just turning my camera on. Anybody see me? No, what did I do here? What have I done? Bear with me, guys and gals. Let me go back to the main screen. I was trying to turn my camera on here. I like to be more, I like to think it works better if. Anyway, where I'm going with this is the nature of real estate is you've got to be positive. The advantage to that is it can help you stay ahead of when things aren't going all that well in your life, okay? We've all been through things. In 1999, I went through a divorce. Very difficult time to work. So, and I struggled for a couple years. Putting deals together was hard. If I had developed the mindset of reading and positivity and being better equipped to deal with those tougher times, that 2 years of my life would have been a lot easier to deal with. Okay, and I'm trying to, sorry guys, I was trying to turn the camera on, but it's just not going to work. So anyway, that's 10 things I wish I knew as a new realtor. You were going to get a survey emailed to you from EXP. If I could ask you, please, and Sherry said, please fill out the survey and be honest. Don't just tell me what I want to hear. If there's things I should have done better, this will help me prep for next time, and it'll help me work better with new realtors that I've got in my marketplace. So yeah, fire away and please be honest, okay? I will share, so here's what I'm gonna do, guys. The business plan is too big to put in chat, I've discovered. Okay, so everybody, here's my email. Okay, so if you email me within the next 24 hours, I'll send you the business plan. I'll send you some goal tracking spreadsheets that I use. And I'm trying to, sorry, I'm rambling here a little bit. So I'll send you everything. So just shoot me an email. And Sherry, that's is that the slide deck? I think that's the slide deck. So I'll send you that as well if you want it. So that's 10 things I wish I knew as a new realtor. Again, the basics. I am actually, Jamie, I've actually recorded this on my own because I'm using it for other purposes. So if anybody actually wants this long-winded 15-minute video, I can 100% send it to you. I'm going to have it up on YouTube, so I can send you a link. And Sherry just said there's going to be a record for the class, but I can send it as well once I get it on YouTube. So any questions? If anybody wants to fire away about anything I've talked about or anything else, if I don't know the answer, I'll maybe hopefully be able to tell you where to go to look for it. But anybody got questions, turn your mic on and fire away.
Hey Blake, I got a quick question for you.
Yep.
So the Google Calendar you use, I'm a very new agent and I feel like I just scramble my day and not get much done. Do you have any videos or tips what a new agent should do setting up that calendar?
You know what? I will, in the email, ask me for that. And this is one of the things I need for new agents. So when you email me, just say, hey, can you do a video on setting up that calendar? I will do a screen share and send it to you. And again, that's good for me to use anyway.
Okay, thank you.
100%. Thanks for asking that. That's actually a good idea. I'm just looking in the chat, see if there's anybody else. Do I have scripts? I don't use a lot of scripts anymore, again, because I said, is it Felipe or Philippe? Felipe?
Yeah, it's Felipe.
Felipe. Again, because I've been doing this a little bit longer, most of my business is repeat and referral. What script are you looking for specifically?
Just any script to get listings potentially, so like
Okay.
cold calling.
Okay, so you're talking cold calling or warm calling around open houses.
Yeah.
What I would suggest is go into EXP World. If you search groups, type in the word scripts. You'll start to see groups pop up, and that's the kind of group you should be in. If this is important to you, the world is going to be your oyster in EXP in workplace chat, and also go into the world you found me. This is a basic class. You will find classes on scripts and start diving deep into those. This is the basic stuff, but there's loads of places to learn scripts, and then start your role playing. Michael, the hardest part is getting the prospect connected with the lender after getting them signed. So, Michael, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So when you say the hardest part is getting your prospect connected with the lender, so you write the deal and then set them up with their bank or your mortgage broker?
No, so like after I do my like I guess you could say cold calling, when I set up a meeting, I sign them to an exclusive right to represent, and then I have trusted lenders that I use, but I'll have my lenders call them or I'll give them the numbers to the lender, and it'll take like a month or two to actually get them connected. And it's not like I can like drive to their house and be like, hey, can you call this lender?
Okay, let's you want to role play?
No. I was just wondering.
Okay, no, but I was going to say we can practice.
Do you have any? Well, it's not the meeting or anything that's the problem. It's just like they seem excited, and then they'll just kind of like put it on the back burner for like a couple of weeks. Okay. And I don't know if I should like keep pushing them to get started with the mortgage process. Should I keep calling them every day or like once a week?
You know what? Some of it's a situation where the buyers just aren't as keen as they're telling you. But if you think they're keen, okay, try a three-way call. Try this. The buyer says, "Oh yeah, I got to be meaning to call them." Hey, Michael, why don't I do this? I work with Katie Dolan. That's the mortgage broker I told you about. That's so good, and she works with her dad of 30 years. Why don't I do this? Why don't I call Katie right now and I'll put us on a three-way call. You can talk to her, ask a couple brief questions, and then I'll sign off and I've introduced you to Katie. Would that be okay? Now, the buyer may or may not agree to that, but it's just a matter of taking control of the situation. And again, you may be dealing with a buyer that's just not going to call because they ain't going to buy a house. But you're doing the right thing. I'll tell you right now, you're doing the right thing by working to get your buyer connected with a lender first rather than after you write an offer. So you're doing things right. It's just a matter of, at that point, how serious is that buyer? And the fact that they won't call a mortgage broker maybe tells you all you need to know. Make sense? Any tips for finding trusted lenders? Felipe, that's just a market-driven thing. Start asking around, whether it's on Facebook in your realtors group in your city. Start, asking around who's been good. And when you have a conversation with the mortgage broker, whoever it may be that you think you're going to deal with after checking them out. Like, for example, I mentioned the name Katie Dallin. This is a mortgage broker I worked with. I've explained to her, hey, Katie, I've been given your name. I hear awesome things about you. I love the fact that your dad's been in the business 30 years as well. One of the concerns I've had with mortgage brokers in the past is they've not given my clients that one-on-one. I've had a couple clients say they felt blown off by blank, and I mentioned the name of the mortgage broker that I used. I need to know that when I send a client to you, you treat them like they're the only client you have, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what you want to do. You want to develop that relationship with a mortgage broker that they value and appreciate your business, just like with a lawyer that you send clients to. Okay. Am I going over time? Because I just saw I see Thomas popped up. Yep, another class after you, in and out. Yep, perfect. Okay, guys, I gotta go because Thomas is coming on for lead gen. That's something you should attend. Anybody got questions? I gotta get out of here. There's my email again. Be really quick. Okay, shoot me an email and say everything I got. Thanks, everybody.